What's up? It's your boy Tiu Tiu. Yay! And welcome to Okay guys, so we're actually told by a professor in one of our subjects, the broadcasting and journalism, to make a vlog related to broadcasting. But first, before we start this vlog, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Ernie Suarez. I'm an AB Communications student at STI Negros University. And well, um, interesting facts about myself is that I really love arts. I mean, I love drawing, sketching, painting in my spare time. Everything that is related to arts actually, and also I really love communication, talking to people, giving advices, and reading articles online also really fascinates me, like on how to make yourself better, how to do this, how to do that, and everything. So before we start this, questions that we need to discuss. So we're gonna start at the question number one. What is broadcasting? Actually, I don't wanna describe this or explain this in my own words because I'm not sure if I could say the right words. So I will just use Google instead to describe this. What is broadcasting? So please bear with me. Broadcasting. Well, it's stated here in Wikipedia that broadcasting is the distribution of audio or video content to a dispersed audience via any electronic mass communication medium, by typically one using the electromagnetic spectrum, radio waves. And in a one-to-many model, broadcasting began with AM radio, which came into popular use around 1920 with the spread of vacuum tube radio transmitters and receivers. Before this, all forms of electronics communication, early radio, telephone, and telegraph, were one-to-one with the message intended for a single recipient. The term broadcasting evolved from its use as the agricultural method of sowing seeds in a field by casting them broadly about. Well, I think for me, I will give my perspective about this broadcasting. Well, I think it is the use of radio and also television, and also by the help of the internet. I mean, nowadays, most of the people uses internet to communicate and also use social media such as Facebook and YouTube and Instagram to stream. A lot of celebrities, actors around the world uses social media platforms to stream or to have a concert. Because of this time that we have pandemic, most of the concert was cancelled, and that's why they use social media instead to stream. And so the question number two here is, what are the types of broadcasting? Actually, I don't really know in my own opinion, so we're gonna use again the help of internet. Here that the types of broadcasting, by definition, broadcasting means to transmit by radio or television, but with developments in technology that have taken place, that simple phrase now includes many different types of transmission. Let's start with a summary of the main types in use today in the United States and overseas. Many of the systems mentioned below differ only in the way that are transmitted. Studio system, radio, and television generally have fewer variation. But don't worry if you don't fully understand all the terms used in this chapter. They will be explained later in the appropriate section. Analog radio. Radio broadcasting for local station in the United States and throughout the world falls into two main types, which is the AM and FM standing. And for the third question, purpose of broadcasting. Well, for me, the purpose of broadcasting is for us to be able to know about the happenings all around the world, and the use of radio and television, like the radio, it gives us informations about the news, the latest trends, and also it gives us information about the temperature, weather forecast, and a lot more. And it also helps people to communicate. And also important nowadays, we learn from television, and also television give us also informations, news, and the latest trends, and a lot more. Also, they give us some daily series to watch, for us not to be bored, since also that we have pandemic, we need to we have a lot of time to reflect, and also use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, etc. We use it's all of those are related to broadcasting. Here is history of broadcasting. So let's check on the Wikipedia. It is generally recognized that the first radio transmission was made from a temporary station set up by Guglielmo Marconi in 1895 on the Isle of Wight. This followed on from pioneer work in the field by a number of people, including Alessandro Volta, Andre Marie Ampere, George Ohm, and James Clerk Maxwell. The Marconi Company was formed in England in 1910. The photo shows is a typically early scene from 1906 with Marconi employee Donald Manson at the right. And the radio broadcasting of music and talk intended to reach a dispersed audience started experimentally around 1905, 1906, and commercially around 1920 to 1923. Very high frequency stations started 30 to 35 years later. In the early days, radio station broadcast on the long wave, medium wave, and short wave band, and later on the very high frequency and ultra high frequency. However, in the United Kingdom, Hungary, France, and some other places from as early as 1890, there was already a system whereby news, music, live theater, music hall, fiction readings, religious broadcasts, etc. were available in private homes and other places by the conventional telephone line, with subscribers being supplied with a number of special personalized headsets and breathing. This system was known as electrophone and was available as early as 1895 or 1899. Sources vary, and up until 1926 in Hungary. And there's a lot more actually, but I don't want to discuss everything. Let's move on to another question. Question 5. Basic skills needed in broadcasting. Well, I will answer this one in my own perspective. Well, I think that the basic skills needed in broadcasting is that you need to be outspoken, you need to have good communication skills, because in broadcasting you need to tell people what is happening, the latest news, latest trends, and everything. So that's why you really have to be outspoken, and you need to be confident on what you says, on what you says, and also, well, yeah, you need to be fluent also and speaking. And do's and don'ts in broadcasting. Well, I think the do's are you need to report an accurate news. You need to be you need to have the quality okay, hold on for a moment. So moving back to the discussion, the question again is do's and don't in broadcasting. Well, let's give an example in a radio. As a radio broadcaster, it's important to interact with your listeners to give them the best experience possible and to build loyalty. It can also be extremely rewarding to talk with listeners, as well as valuable for improving. You can interact with listeners on social media via email or chat, at events, in person, or on calls. But there are some do's and don't, as I said earlier. So the do's is respond to listeners' questions, comments, critics, etc. Briefly and kindly. In some instances, note that a like or retweet may be the best course of action to acknowledge a listener. Always think before you speak. It is very important. You need to analyze first what you said before you said it to your viewers. Engage in conversation when applicable. If you are tagged in something, look for opportunities to create a conversation with your listeners. Be transparent in letting listeners know the best ways to support you and your station. Post to social media regularly. Listeners want to hear from you. Share interesting things with your audience, whether that be music, news, articles, or anything that you believe they will be interested in. And remember that it is better to ignore some comments than to react to them and post something without truly thinking. Note that some conversations should be held in private, not on social media for the world to see. And when interacting in person, be mindful of your body language. Nonverbal communication is just as powerful as verbal communication. Always proofread. And thank you, listeners, for listening, following you on social media, engaging with you, and so forth. Ensure that your interaction are personal and genuine. And for the don'ts, don't spam your listeners, even if private message. Don't dwell on listeners' comments, critics, etc. Some people will be rude with the intent to just be mean. So remember that when interacting with listeners, there will also be a larger amount of people that will kind and want to give you genuine feedback. So let the love overwhelm any hate. Refrain from oversharing your life. Some things may be relevant to share with your listeners, while other things cross the line and are inappropriate. Remember that while they may seem like friends in some ways, they are listeners. Don't lose track of correct spelling and grammar on social media as well as in emails and chat. Avoid being too pushy, sarcastic, arrogant, or needy. Your listeners will notice these things when interacting with you and it will turn them away. So I guess that is all for this vlog. I hope that you all like it and you learn from it. And before we end this vlog, please do follow me on Facebook, Hernie Suarez, and on IG at Mr. Hernie_Suarez. And please, if you like this video, please do a like and click subscribe and the notification bell button. Thank you.